Hi, this is Ruth Anne Wood from JV Attraction, a free joint venture community for authors, speakers, and coaches. And we help people get clear ideas on our message, create desirable products, get technical support on launches, and solving product problems. And today we're talking with Russ Hovendick, who not only has had great best-selling success and rave reviews from his audience and the media, he has a profitable business model that we're going to be talking about today that supports his mission and impacts countless lives. Today we'll be talking about Russ's business and how he works with his community as well as a special group of people. Welcome, Russ.
Well, Ruth Anne, I really enjoy being here. It's very nice for you to invite me. I was looking forward to it all the time since we last talked.
Oh, wonderful. I want to hear a little bit about your company, sort of an overview, and then the specific group of people you're most passionate working with.
Cool. Well, actually, I own two companies, and it's always kind of confusing for people. They say, well, who are you? And, we're kind of trying to define that a little bit ourselves. But I first started a company called Client Staffing Solutions. And I've been an executive recruiter for over 20 years. And my passion really is helping people and making a difference for people. And so I work with individuals to find new career opportunities, work with companies from Fortune 500 companies down to more ma and pa type of operations. And really impacting not only the lives of individuals themselves and their families, but also with businesses as well, and bringing the talent that can really make an impact and a difference for them. So that part's pretty cool. And then with that...
And what is the name of that company?
That's Client Staffing Solutions.
Okay.
And then on the heels of that, what I did is created a company called Directional Motivation. And Directional Motivation is pretty cool. We love it. Because it's all geared on making a difference for people. And actually, the site itself is free. We have a lot of free resources on there to help people in their career searches, that type of thing. A lot of self-improvement things are on the site. We have career coaches on the site that people can use and reach out to. And so we've got audios, videos, we've got worksheets. I've done interviews with industry executives. We give scholarships, all kinds of things to help people. And then what's really come from that is a tremendous effort towards our veteran community. And so we place a lot of veterans, but we help them in their search as well, in terms of defining who they are and helping them really bring to the surface how to interview better, how to communicate who they are. The site is really does a lot in terms of career resources and interviewing skills.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you about that because I was really fascinated with how you train people on interviewing based on companies asking about behavioral style and really showcasing what they've done in the military or in their other jobs if they're not military clients, to focus on things that demonstrate their abilities and their communication, leadership, and decisiveness skills.
Sure. One of the things that prompted that with the military side is that I work with a Fortune 500 company that's one of the top 100 employers of veterans out there. And they said, hey, Russ, if you ever run across veterans, we are a top 100 employer of veterans, and we'd love to hire them. And I said, I don't really communicate and connect with veterans.
Not yet, anyway.
Yeah. And so then they said, well, I said, but if you want them, I'll go find them and we'll talk to them. And what I found in starting to work with them is that veterans were not connecting with me. And so I started asking deeper and deeper probing questions and starting to really bring out who they were, the characteristics that really made them set themselves apart. And we started connecting in a great way. And so I started placing tons of veterans, but also really connecting with veterans in helping them and their families. And I never worry about whether I place veterans. That never really concerns me. I don't worry about whether I place people. Our whole objective here within our company is making a difference for people. And so I always say, if I can help you, give you the tools to help you succeed in your career search or in your career development or whatever the case may be, I'm happy, because if you do the right thing for people 100% of the time, it always comes back. And what's really, really amazing with this is it's come back in such huge ways. And our business has just continued to grow and grow and grow through the years. And it's all in referral business. It's really pretty cool.
I want to know a little bit more about your revenue model, being just starting JV Attraction myself, which is a free community for authors, speakers, and coaches. Do you get paid by recruiters once an employer is placed, or is there a lot of donations and giving back once people have steady income and growing careers? How does that work?
I'm kind of a weird guy. Number one, I'm such a strong believer. I've been a 25-year prison, jail, and juvenile chaplain within the South Dakota penal system.
Huh.
And I believe that God takes care of me. I don't worry about money. I really, really don't. And yep, you got to have money to survive and pay the bills and all that good stuff. But what I've taken, I get paid to make placements with companies. They pay me to go out and find talent for them. And what we've done with the client staffing solutions, it's been more of a funding effort for the origination of Directional Motivation. Directional Motivation has probably been up since, I would say, we're probably 2 years now.
Okay.
I got to think on that.
Time flies.
Maybe it's been, yeah, I think it's been about 2 years maybe. At any rate, and then what we've done is branched off of that in terms of enhancing our services on Directional Motivation. So I created 3 books, have written 3 books now. One is How to Get a Raise, the correct way to ask for an increase in wages and salary. The second book is How to Interview, what employers want to hear in today's competitive job market. And the third is Deployment to Employment, a guide for military veterans transitioning to civilian employment.
And that's your most recent book that's getting a lot of attention from the major media outlets.
It is, yes. In fact, we were able to reach #1 ranking on Amazon for the top new release about 3 weeks ago. And
congratulations.
So, it's pretty cool. And really what that stems from is a lot of volunteers wanting to make a difference for the veteran community, and also to help our effort in Directional Motivation. We have people that are just a part of it and helping out and volunteering, their efforts to help us propel this thing. So it's pretty cool. What's really interesting now is that we have, last week we had one company that bought 200 of the books for their military job fairs.
Perfect.
And campus college visits. And I've got 3 more Fortune 500 companies that have expressed interest in purchasing the books for similar purposes. So it's really catching hold.
So what I heard from what you just said was you really tapped into something that's timely. There's a market for military placement. And also you had a lot of volunteers that are passionate. You didn't offer them big affiliate commissions and things like that. They're diving in with how they can help. Can you talk more about that?
Sure. They get the privilege of putting up with me. Actually, everything that we do, we have fun with here. It's really, it's a fun place to work. You can, talk to the people that work here, and we try to create an environment that's very upbeat and positive, and people just kind of migrate to us.
I noticed that. I was looking at, you had kind of 2 sections. You had like kind of your support staff, and then you had your panel of coaches. And it seemed like the people that work with you either have done business with you in the past, or they've gone through your training and services and can't get enough of this work. Can you talk about how you built such a strong, passionate team?
Well, I think, it doesn't take very long for an individual to come in contact with our organization, with me as well, to hear the passion, the drive, and the desire to make a difference for people. And what I find is that similar people migrate together. They really
birds of a feather.
Birds of a feather. And that's really what's prompted a lot of this is I get contact and say, can we be part of this? And once the word gets out about what we're doing. And so it's really neat. the volunteers, they're volunteers. They don't get paid anything, and they don't want to get paid anything. They said, okay, what can we do for you now? And so it's been really, really neat. If I can share a story.
Yeah, please.
The other day I went to my veterinarian, and I brought my...
That's a different kind of vet.
Yes, a veterinarian. That's correct. And so I went to the veterinarian, and I brought my book in. And I said, hey, I just wanted to share this with... This was the receptionist. And she said... so I explained what we're doing. I said, we have a program called Invest in a Vet. And we started this about 3 weeks ago. And what we're asking people to do is, when I talk to people across, on the street, they say, boy, I'd love to help a veteran, but I just don't know how.
Mm-hmm. I hear that sometimes.
Yep. And so I said, well, here's a great way to do it. And so I explained our program is going out and purchasing a book and putting it in the hands of a veteran. It seems like everybody knows either a veteran in their family, a coworker, a friend of a coworker, that type of connection.
Right.
And so what we're asking people to do is go out and purchase a book and just put it in the hands of a veteran. And so when I went into the veterinarian's office, the receptionist said, she said, hey, let me go get my purse. She said, I believe in this program. And so she bought 2 books. And then she said, by the way, she said, just you go ahead and give them out as you see fit. And so we're working with the Wounded Warrior Regiment right now. We just to distribute the books, and also the MEP station, which is Military Entrance Processing Station.
Okay.
And I'm also working with various organizations, some volunteer organizations, service groups too. And then the veterinarian himself said, all right, I tell you what, I want books too. And so they purchased a number of books from me. And so I've had businesses that are getting involved in this. I've had individuals getting involved with this. It's pretty cool.
So imagine you were just starting out on this project and you didn't have the community support as a chaplain or running 2 successful businesses or even your team. How would you quickly choose a passion like this and start creating value in the community?
Yeah. Well, one of the things that I ask when I'm recruiting is I've had individuals, and I just had this conversation here the other day, and one of the questions I ask is, what gets you out of bed in the morning?
Mm-hmm.
And unfortunately, this kid said an alarm clock.
Mm-hmm.
I said, I don't think that's going to cut it. What I find, and it goes back to your birds of a feather flock together.
Right.
Is it's so important to understand what your passion is. And once you have your passion, it's addictive to people.
And to yourself, apparently.
Yeah. I live, eat, and breathe this. It's, it isn't a job. What we're doing here is not a job. It's a mission. And it's really, really cool. And what you find, I think, when you're starting something like this is to really do some soul searching and say, what is it that really trips your trigger? That, if you could do this, and it's not a 9-to-5 type of job, it's something that just excites you to reach out and make an impact and a difference for somebody else's life, that's probably your passion. And what you do is you develop that. And what happens is when you find your passion, number one, what you do is not a job to you at all. Second thing is that people migrate to you and people understand your cause. And if you're doing something just to make money, you're probably in the wrong environment. When you do the right thing for people 100% of the time, the money will come, and it will come in different ways than what you imagined. And it's really cool.
And I'm wondering, since you give a lot of career advice, mm-hmm. how that translates into people that say, well, I'm not ready to create a whole organization. I just want to have a paycheck so I can support my family. How can you integrate those two so you're still passionate about maybe working a desk job or an outdoor job, but you carry that mission forward?
Well, I think you can have, one thing I don't ever encourage anybody to do is to shut down their source of income.
Right.
And just pursue something on, 100% blind faith type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
because you can have a real passion, but it may take you 5 years to get it where it really catches on.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I'm working with people, I always say, all right, do this on the side. Go out and find a mentor that's doing something similar and see if this is where your heart's at. And, do some shadowing if that be the case. Get involved in some organizations maybe that do something of a similar work. Again, go find that group that aligns pretty closely with what your value system is, and see if that's really where you want to be. And then start building it from there. You don't have to build this thing overnight.
Or by yourself, or be the ringleader.
No. And, it's kind of like starting a business, in truth, going out and I think starting a business, you go out and you find people who have done the business in the past, or are doing the business. Why make mistakes that you don't have to?
Right.
And what you'll find is a community that really embraces you. They're very, very supportive. When you find the people that are of a similar bent, so to speak, they're very supportive. They're willing to volunteer information, just like what we're doing here today.
Exactly.
Very open to talk about what you're doing, and they'll say, have you ever tried this or that type of thing? And now I have people that reach out and they say, okay, well, you did this. How did you do that? I'm more than happy to share,
Exactly. And one thing I'm finding with this new JV attraction community is people have not quite gotten the whole idea of relationship building. They go on there and say, oh, I have something that's an event that's going on next week. Can you promote it? By the way, I don't know who you are. You're just in this community. But it sounds like it's really about building the relationships, not just getting someone to follow it with your desired plan.
Right.
So let's go back to how you are inspiring people to promote the book and how you build relationships before you actually engage them in doing specific tasks.
Mm-hmm. Well, I kind of build the model around what we do on recruiting, for instance. I build the relationships before we ever go forward with anything, looking at an opportunity. And that is explaining, in that first phone call, what I do is I explain our mission really in terms of recruiting, what our value system is and why we're doing what we're doing, and giving them the option whether they want to be part of it or not. And at that point, then you have the buy-in. And the same is true for volunteer or in your communities like you're talking about, is people need to understand who you are and what you bring to the table and why you do it. And they have to believe in you and they have to trust you. And the only way that they believe and trust in you is by you being believable and trustable. Sounds kind of simple, but it's really true. And if your whole situation is your whole business is steeped on what you can get out of it versus how you can help others, you're going to struggle. People are not.
It's kind of counterintuitive the way we've been taught by the media and.
Oh yeah.
It's like, well, I gotta feed myself first and then help the people around me.
What you'll find in the world, there's two types of people. There's givers and getters.
Mm-hmm.
Really what it comes down to. And if you look in the Bible, it talks about that, about givers and getters. And you have that segment out there that's always looking, well, what do I get out of it? What do I get out of it? Well, if I did that, there's no guarantee that I'll get something out of it. And then you have the other side that is totally giving. And they look at the other person's need and desire and that type of thing first. And that's when good things happen.
Can you tell me when that light bulb went off for you? Was it when you were thinking about ministry school? When was that?
I'll share something with you. It's kind of interesting. And I'm just starting to talk about it now. I haven't done this before. I just shared it again yesterday. When I was a teenager, and I was out in the field. We farmed. I was picking rocks, and it hit me that I would be standing in front of groups, and that the Lord had a call upon my life in a unique way, and I had actually run from that and said,
the reluctant hero.
What's that?
The reluctant hero in the Hollywood story model and the Joseph
A
Kim.
little bit of the reluctant hero, yeah.
Yes.
I don't view myself as a hero, but anyway, this has been something that's been ingrained in me for a long time, and it's been a probably a subdued passion. And when I decided to finally let this baby roll, it's been really good. And so I've used it in different ways through some of the chaplaincy and things that I do that way. But this, since we started and created this program, I realized this is what I'm supposed to be doing. I mean, I still do the chaplaincy and everything, but in terms of the business world and affecting people's lives, I can do it on a grand scale. It's amazing how many people's lives we've touched already. And the emails, the other thing, Ruth, the emails and the confirmation that you're doing the right thing is awesome. It really is awesome.
The feedback from the community saying, I'm on board, or I love what you're doing. How can I help?
Yep. And we haven't done any, you asked about funding it and things like that. We haven't done any, Kickstarter or anything like that. In fact, they just had on TV last night, they talked about an individual that has done that and got it. I don't know that I'm ever going to really solicit funds necessarily. I don't think we're going to have to.
It doesn't sound like it the way you're moving.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So I want to go back to what are some of the biggest hurdles military people especially face when they're transitioning into civilian life?
Mm-hmm. Sure. One of the things that what I first noticed when I started working with veterans is that connecting point. And what I mean by that is they were talking a completely different language than what the civilian sector uses. And so they talked in a lot of numbers, facts, figures, that type of thing, acronyms that we're not connecting with employers. And, if you haven't been in the military and you're an employer and you interview an individual and he's spewing a number of acronyms out there, what we found is they're not connecting that way.
So it's kind of like their industry jargon that is not known by the normal population.
Yeah. So if you took a very,
like specialized infantry or military operations, and you start saying that as part of your track record for success, it might lose your potential employer.
Yep. So what I started doing and working with them is to, rather than say you led, 200 people, how did you lead them? What are the things that you implemented in that leadership side? And started bringing the real person of who they were to the surface. And when I started doing that and really challenging to do that, which was uncomfortable for them, to be honest with you, they started connecting with employers, and we started placing a lot of them. And they, not only did we place them, but they started getting positions on their own when they're going out there too. And so we've been the preparatory for a lot of veterans being able to secure employment. And
I just want to touch on what you just said, because that's not a unique quality for just veterans about being modest and shy about your skill set and your achievements. I find that authors, speakers, and coaches have trouble conveying that message in their rudimentary sales letters and inviting joint venture partners.
Yep, very much so. A lot of times authors are a bit introverted to start with, and I'm probably a little bit different that way, I guess. I'm actually a shy guy, but it doesn't sound that way. I can be a homebody very easily, but for a lot of authors, they're more self-perspective, that type of thing, and for them to communicate in a sales fashion is very difficult. One of the things that in my book, How to Interview, what employers want to hear in today's competitive job market, really takes a step-by-step approach in building how you communicate, who you are, what makes you stand out, what makes you different, all that type of thing, which is really working with the sales side of who you are and understanding who you are, what you bring to the table. It's very important for authors and that type of thing to be able to do the very same thing. Why is what you wrote, why does that make a difference for somebody? The old adage of who cares needs to be answered. That question of who cares and being able to really identify that is huge. And it is with the military people. interviewing, that type of thing.
And they're really selling themselves, not just the job skills, but how are they going to fit in the whole dynamics of the team?
Right. When I talk about interviewing, what I challenge people to do is to take and define themselves in such a way that they create a picture through the verbiage skills that they use that can be transferable for an employer to take and transfer that unique picture that they build and put it right into their operations and see if they do or don't fit. You know, it's okay. Either they fit or they don't fit. But that question gets answered. And being able to create such a picture that they can understand them is very, very key to whether they do or don't fit that organization.
I'm trying to imagine that. Do you have a website where it has a bunch of member profiles and then employers can go and kind of see like the key aspects of an individual that they could be hiring?
No, I don't. I teach that, and so if people go to, you know, they can use the site. It's called directionalmotivation.com. It's a free site. Use it to your heart's content. That's what it's for. What's really interesting, Ruth, is over the years now, or since it's been operational, I have other recruiters sending their candidates that they're getting prepped for interviewing. They send them to my site to get interviewed.
That's awesome.
Which is fine. I don't have a problem with that at all. And I have what's interesting too is that I've had employers that have used my interviewing techniques and turned them around and used them in the interview process themselves on the other side of the table. So it's really, really good. You know, a good interview, Ruth, should be an exchange of information both ways. And so what I really teach is how to communicate and how to connect on both sides of the table.
I'm wondering how this trickles into their newfound relationship with their family once they return home.
Well, I want your listeners to think about this for a second and put themselves in the shoes of a veteran. And I use the analogy because I've been in, you know, prison and jail ministry, that type of thing. And so let's say that you've been incarcerated for let's just say 10 years. And so you've been out of society for 10 years. Your day comes up, you're done. They give you $50 in your pocket and they say, go out and find a job and see you. Well, to face that world that you're unfamiliar with and to go out and be able to take and project who you are, what you bring to the table, and all the things in a civilian world that's totally unfamiliar to you is almost impossible. And so, you know, we ask and it's
almost easier to face the horrors you know than the awkwardness that you don't know.
Very true. Very true. And so in our penal system, you know, we turn them out and say, go for it and don't screw up and go get a job and we don't want to see you again. Mm-hmm. Well, in our veteran community, there's a lot the same. There's programs to help them acclimate somewhat, but not to the extent that they really need. And so they're talking a different language. Everything has changed in the 20 years that they've been in the military, and everything has changed, you know, and so they're making all these adjustments in life, financial, family, all these things, and it's all hitting them at one time. It's overwhelming.
Right. And I'm wondering if some of these military people entered the military right out of high school. They might have fell in love, got married, but then went off to serve with some kids on the wings or in the family. And so the whole structure of being a father, a spouse, or a mother, a spouse, has not been learned.
That's true too. And the family unit hasn't really been defined. Mm-hmm. And what I mean by that is that, say a person's been in Afghanistan for a year, you know, for instance. Well, during that year, you know, the husband now is maybe managing the family while his spouse is in Afghanistan, or vice versa. And so they walk in the door and they say, hey, you know what? I'm back here to take over and run the show. And then they go, pardon me? We've been running this show. The kids go, who are you? And so there's a huge adjustment. What's really sad, Ruth, is the amount of suicides that are taking place now.
Wow.
For individuals that are not making that successful transition. And a lot of it is because they are so bombarded, they go into paralysis and they do nothing and they say, I can't cope. I can't I don't know where I fit. I can't cope with this. And rather than to deal with that and to, try and weather through that, they say they're taking the easy way out, which isn't an easy way, but, they do. And so it's really sad. The other part too is that, we have National Guard and your reservists. The unemployment rate for them right now is 26%. It's horrible.
Wow. And so is this a scary statistic where, and is this actually happening, or is it just urban legend that some people are kept in the military longer so it doesn't affect our overall job unemployment rate?
I don't even get into the political side of that. I wouldn't even go there.
You wouldn't want to touch that one.
My heart is just for the military. What's happening right now, Ruth, is that if you notice, the media is not carrying too many articles about veterans now. And when I wrote this book about a year ago, and when I started writing it, I told, a lot of military people that I was talking to, and I said, you guys are the hot issue right now, but mark my words, pretty soon you're not going to be the top in terms of media, and the Kardashians are going to take your place, and,
right.
The A-Rods of the world and all that kind of stuff, and that's going to be top billing, and you're going to be pushed to the end or the backside of the publications. And that's happening now. And what happens is when it's not a hot item, then it's not a hot item in the political world either. And so your senators and representatives are going to forget about these guys.
And so the funding and the support goes out the window.
Yep. And now you have, just to make it even worse, you have sequester that's hit too. And so you have Tell us
what that is.
The sequester is the reduction of the armed services, the number of, or the funding to the military operations themselves and to the individuals. And so there's a massive cutback in our number of military personnel. And so they're getting called back at a moment's notice now, and they haven't even gotten prepared to face that. I talked to an individual who is he's out of Illinois, but he's been on a submarine for 6 years now.
Wow.
And was looking to come out of the military at some point, and he got his notice. He's out. I mean, just almost instantly. And he hasn't really interacted with his family because he's been out at sea. He hasn't really been able to take and further his education because he's been at sea.
Wow.
Those are the issues that these guys are fighting, and they're very, very serious issues. And so, in my book, I go through a lot of the step-by-step process of how to make, how to make that adjustment, and the things that you can do, and the support that you can get, and all that. And I've just had tremendous response from the military community and business people themselves too.
So what else do you want to tell us before we wrap up this conversation, Russ?
One thing I want to say is you're a very good interviewer.
Oh, wow. Thank you.
You do a great job. You really do. And I like the purpose behind what you're doing. It's not self-motivated. It's for others. And that's really, really a good approach to take. It's a winning approach. Now, because of my spiritual side, I'll say the Lord will bless that. He really will. And
thank you.
We've seen that on our side too. Without a doubt, the magnitude of this thing. One thing I would encourage your listeners to put themselves in the shoes of veterans for a moment and think about how would it be if you haven't been in society for about 4 years, 6 years, 8 years, 20 years, and try to make that transition back. How would you feel? What would you do? And who would you reach out to? And I'm going to make a plug here because I think it needs to be done. The book is Deployment to Employment, a guide for military veterans transitioning to civilian employment. It's available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble. You can go to directionalmotivation.com. It's on our site. If you purchase it directly through our publisher, he actually gets a little bit of extra, not much, but a little bit of extra. And he's a very strong proponent of the military and supporting our veteran community. I would venture to say that 90% of the people that are listening today have someone they know, either through a family member, friend, coworker, that's going to be either they're in in the military now and going to be transitioning within the next year or two, or someone that's actually in the transition process. These people need this resource, not because I wrote it, but what the military community is telling about and what Fortune 500 companies are telling me about this, what veterans themselves are telling me about this book. It needs to be put into the hands of veterans. And go out, buy the book. You know, what we make off of books. If you guys are authors, you know.
Yeah, we know it's a over-glorified business card or brochure to give people more help, get people to more help.
Yeah, it's about helping people.
Exactly.
But I've really enjoyed being on the broadcast with you. If I can do anything to help you or your audience, you can certainly reach out to me. You can catch me at Russ at directionalmotivation.com. And just send me an email, and if you want to connect with me, that's fine. I'm on LinkedIn. I would certainly link up with you. Not a problem.
I definitely want to use this interview as the poster child for building a community and building relationships. And so that will be good. Yeah. And yeah. I was hoping you could lead us out in either a visualization or a guided meditation on the experience the readers would have after they connected with the book message and also working with directional motivation.
Mm-hmm. I think what you're going to find when you read the book, when you open the book, and I'm talking about deployment to employment, if you read the dedication, excuse me, sorry, if you read the dedication, it'll give you the heart and the passion behind it, and that's probably what will lead you from there on, about why we do what we do. When you find out why you do what you do and the reason behind it, you'll be successful.
That's really key right there, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it really is. Knowing who you are and why you do what you do and who you're trying to influence. So, again, I just really enjoyed being on your program. Really have.
I feel like you're getting a little choked up right now. What's going on?
Just a little bit. Just a little bit. That's part of the passion that we're talking about.